Good afternoon, folks. Welcome to another virtual live encounter here at the Memphis Zoo. My name is Max from the Interpretation Department, and it is a pleasure to have you all here today. Now, for those of you that have been watching the last few weeks, you know that we like to preface each program with talking a little bit about why I have a mask on. So as some of you may heard, in the last few weeks, we actually found out that the COVID-19 virus can be transmitted to mammals. Now, here at the Memphis Zoo, we do follow CDC guidelines for how to safely interact with our coworkers as well as primates to avoid spreading the virus. But with this recent news about other mammals, that's been part of the reason why the last few weeks we've had mostly birds, reptiles, amphibians, and invertebrates on the program. At this point, we have changed our policy so that we are much more careful with our mammals to avoid accidentally spreading the virus. We also like to take this time to remind you with those that have mammals as pets at home, when you do let them out of the house, make sure that they maintain a 6-foot distance from any other pets or people to avoid accidentally or unknowingly spreading the virus. Now, for the program we're about to do now, my coworker Whitney is over 6 feet away from me, and today I brought Indy, who is an invertebrate. And at this point, we have no evidence that they can contract the virus from us, so I believe it is safe for me to now take off my mask. Oh, that's not good. That's my hair. All right, so today I brought Indy, the tailless whip scorpion, who I will show you in just a few minutes. She's actually hanging out down there right now. Now, tailless whip scorpions, also called whip spiders, are an interesting animal because, as I mentioned, they are an invertebrate. Now, you may be wondering, what is an invertebrate? Let's first start off with talking about what is a vertebrae. So, those of you at home, I want you to do me a favor. Take your hand, put it on the base of your neck, right there in the middle, and then move it downwards. And you may be able to feel, hopefully, your spine or your spinal column, the collection of bones that make that up. That is your vertebrae. And most animals have a vertebrae or a spinal column or a backbone, but there's a lot of animals that also do not. Invertebrates, that name actually basically means no backbone. And they have a skeleton, but it's not inside our body, in their body. Their skeleton is actually on the outside of their body. It's called an exoskeleton, and it acts like a suit of armor. Now, Indy, the tailless whip scorpion, also known as a whip spider, is in the same class of spiders and scorpions called arachnids, but she is actually not a spider or a scorpion. She is a separate order of animals called amphibians. There's actually over 155 different species of tailless whip scorpions, and they live in warm climates all over the world, including Asia, Africa, South America, and we actually have a few species here in North America. Now, tailless whip scorpions can look very intimidating to a lot of people, but they're actually not dangerous at all. They prefer to hide and run whenever they get scared of something, and they do not have any venom, and they can actually be pretty calm and relaxed around people. Now, they do actually have a big role to play in helping the environment because they are great at pest control. So having them around and letting them eat means less pests that have to bother you. Now, Indy actually has an interesting story. We don't know exactly how old she is because she came to us from the border. She was actually taken from someone that tried to, well, they took her from the wild and then tried to sneak her into the United States to illegally sell her as a pet. They were able to catch the person and acquire Indy, but they had no idea where she came from, so they could not release her back into the wild. Fortunately, she found a home here at the Memphis Zoo, and she is now an ambassador animal that helps people learn about how cool and helpful tailless whip scorpions are, and as well as what you can do from home to help wildlife, and some of the conservation efforts that we do here at the Memphis Zoo. At the Memphis Zoo, we actually conduct a few programs where we're researching and reintroducing Louisiana pine snakes and Mississippi gopher frogs back into the wild. We also fund programs and send staff to conservation projects all over the world. And we also like to teach our visitors how you can help animals from the safety of your home. You can do little things such as reducing the amount of trash that you make, making sure that you securely securely get rid of your trash and your waste. Also, you can say, for example, turn off the water faucet while you're brushing your teeth, or you can even just observe wild animals from a safe distance and make sure to leave them in the wild. All of those little changes can actually have a big impact on the health of our animal neighbors. If you would like to help further, then you can support us here at the Memphis Zoo by donating to our Emergency Animal Fund or by going onto our website and becoming a member. All of your donations will go directly to providing high quality care to our animals that call the zoo home, such as Indy here, as well as supporting our conservation efforts around the world. So on behalf of myself, Indy, and all of the other animals that call the Memphis Zoo home, we want to thank you so much for doing your part to help wildlife from the safety and comfort of your home. Now I just threw a lot of information at you, and I know you probably have some questions, so feel free to spit some hot fire into the comment section and let's answer some of those questions. And
Okay.
while you are doing that, I'm going to get Indy out so that you all can actually see her.
That's great. We do have kind of a question here, and I think they just want to know maybe further why some animals are legal and some aren't, but she did want to know specifically, why isn't it illegal to sell poisoned dart frogs?
Why isn't it illegal?
Why isn't it illegal? I guess because you can buy them.
Well, it's interesting because here in the United States, the laws around exotic animals vary so much state by state, and some exotic animals are legal in some places, but not so much in others. So it's really between state lines, and unfortunately, I don't have a reason as to why some states have the laws that they do. But some places, a lot of the reasons they make those laws, I know, is so that they can avoid having an invasive animal problem, because a lot of people actually will take these exotic animals, realize that they can't take care of them, and then leave them out in the wild, and then they can severely affect the animals living in the natural environment there.
That's what happened to a snake in Hawaii, right? One of the...
Snake in that, probably. I mean, they have, for example, the Everglades
Yeah.
with the large pythons that they have there.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, we've got our regular shout outs here. We've got Jordan Max. I know him.
Hey, Jordan.
And he made a little joke here about how you were just too strong for that mask.
I know.
Janet Miner says can't wait to come visit the zoo. So many residents she can't wait to come see. And of course we've got hello from Lisa. And our usuals, Juan and Mateo are back. Thanks for all that you do. And they sent us 100 stars.
Oh, thank you, Juan. Thank you, Mateo.
And we've got Max. Hi from Seattle.
Max from Seattle.
Max from Seattle.
Oh, another Max that also lives in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Great minds think alike. What's up, Max?
All right. What animal are you showing? It's difficult to see, Julianne. You know,
Oh, does that help if I move it down a little bit?
she's actually pretty well on camera.
Okay. So this is Indy, and she is a tailless whip scorpion. And even though she does have scorpion in the name, she's not actually related to scorpions. And even though she does look like a spider, she is not related to spiders as well. They're a specific order of animals called amphibians. And the reason they're called whip scorpions is because if you look carefully, you can see these long appendages right here that look kind of like a whip. Those are actually used for her to sense her environment and see what's going on around her. They do have eyes, so they can see, but not very well. And instead they like to use, as you can see right now, those long whips, basically, to feel the ground in front of her, as well as sense any movement around her, and sense any chemicals in the air as well, so she can actually almost smell sometimes.
Now we do have some guests here talking about if we're open. We're still closed at this time. We've got more information coming. Just keep an eye on our social media and our website. In the meantime, let's get back to some fun questions here. Bryant from Bryant, Arkansas says that this is very cool.
Oh, thank you, Brian.
And they say it actually thinks this looks like something that was in Harry Potter.
That is correct. So if you have seen the fourth Harry Potter movie, which was, I believe, The Lion, the Witch, and the Ward. No, I'm just kidding. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. They did actually have a tailless whip scorpion in it. However, unlike the movie, they don't actually make any sounds, even if you're a wizard that casts a spell on them. And they're not venomous like they say in the movie. They're actually quite harmless to people. They're very, very fast, so that if they ever feel threatened, they prefer to run away and hide. And they do have these very intimidating what's called pedipalps in the front of their head that they use to catch their food, but there's no venom in it, and even if they did decide for some reason to grab your finger with them, it would feel like getting pricked by a thorn.
So only their magical counterparts would be hissing at me or talking to me at this point?
Yeah, just the magical ones though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We got Dog Days on YouTube. Lots of comments. Hey, how's it going? How old is it? And oh gosh, I just saw how giant that was.
So for those of you that missed our intro, we were talking a little bit about the illegal or exotic animal pet trade. We don't actually know how old Indy is. She's been here for a few years now, but we got her when she was confiscated from someone that was trying to bring her into the United States illegally and sell her as a pet. They couldn't release her back into the wild because they had no idea where she came from. So fortunately, she was able to come to the zoo and get a home here with us.
So you said earlier we didn't know exactly where she was from, but where is her species from? Melissa would like to know.
So we're actually still trying to figure out exactly what kind of species she is. We guess that she is from Central America, but without having any knowledge as to where she was acquired or how she was acquired, it's hard to say.
Oh wow. Well, Andrew would like to know, what does she eat?
So her favorite food here at the Memphis Zoo is crickets. And in their natural habitat, they do like to eat small bugs, so they're a great form of pest control. And you can't tell right now, but they're also very, very fast. So when they want to catch something, they can actually use those whip-like appendages to corral it toward its face, and then it'll lunge very suddenly and grab it with their pedipalps.
Mm. We've got Mr. Peterson here, Melissa's dad and primates.
Hey, Mr. Peterson.
He'd like to know, what is the difference between a whip scorpion and a vinegaroon?
Ah, vinegaroon, yes. So they're also called a whip scorpion. These are called whip spiders or tailless whip scorpions. Vinegaroons have a much thicker body shape. They don't have these long legs as well. And the reason they're called vinegaroons is because they can actually secrete a very nasty liquid that smells a lot like vinegar. And they can secrete that when they want to protect themselves. Tailless whip scorpions cannot do that. And if they do need to protect themselves, they prefer to run and hide, which is actually part of the reason why all species of tailless whip scorpions are nocturnal, and they only come out at night when they come to hunt, and they spend most of their time hiding in tree cavities or under rocks or leaf litter.
Yeah, we got a sneak peek there. She's pretty fast.
Yes, she's very, very quick, and that's why I actually have her on this log right now, because I want to make sure that she has somewhere to go to, that she feels nice and safe. She can safely get onto my hand, but it turns out they also have a great memory, and there are specific surfaces that she walks on that she's not a big fan of, and my hands are a little bit too slippery for her liking. So we're keeping her here on the cork bark and letting her explore a little bit.
All right. So let's get back to our illegal pet trade.
Yeah.
If we want to go and check out, and support zoos and other sanctuaries, what's a good way to know? How do I know if this is a good place to support?
That is a great question and a very tricky question. So a lot of major zoos, just like the Memphis Zoo, are accredited by certain organizations. One of the most common accreditations is by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. And getting accredited means that a panel of experts comes and does an inspection of your entire zoo and your operations and make sure that you are keeping the highest level of animal care, constantly innovating different ways to raise the welfare of your animals and doing conservation work to helping animals out in the wild. Now, the process for getting accredited is very selective. So a lot of places do not have accreditation, which does not mean that they're necessarily bad places. A lot of places that don't have accreditation tend to be smaller zoos or privately owned. And a lot of those are really well-intentioned and do good work, but it's a little bit difficult because some of those places that are not accredited have what I can only describe as shady practices. They don't explain to the public and have some problematic ways in which they operate.
Mm. That would be an issue.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of questions about her little, what are those, whips, antennae
Yeah,
going
her
on?
little whips there.
Yeah, so someone, Ashley was asking if they're extra long ones like actual legs or more like feelers. And then Terry wants to know, are those segmented antennae?
Yes, they are. Great questions. So not so much antennae, but more a evolved appendage of theirs. So being arachnids, they do have technically 8 legs, as all other members of the arachnid family, like scorpions, and spiders. But they walk on 6 of those legs, and then these front 2 legs, those whips, I guess you could call them, are actually used to sense their surroundings and their environments. So it helps them to feel where they can step safely, as well as how to find food.
So are they technically legs or feelers then?
I would say feelers. They do not walk on them.
Andre would like to know, how big of an enclosure does she require?
So usually with whip scorpions, you can do a 10-gallon tank. You're going to make sure you want to keep it nice and humid, and lots of areas for them to walk on.
And to hide, of course, right?
Yes.
So how often does she get fed?
She gets fed about once a week. We give her a couple of crickets. Sometimes she does eat, but sometimes she's just not in the mood, which is not a problem if she doesn't eat for one of those weeks.
Okay. Can we get a close-up of her face without scaring her?
Now, let's see if we can do that. She's getting a little bit more comfortable now walking around. So let's see if I can get you right up to the camera there.
We'll try to keep it focused too on her. Oh, we are getting a nice little glimpse here, guys.
There she goes.
Oh, yeah, that looks beautiful.
Oh, she's gorgeous.
So does she ever move those polyps out unless she's not eating, or is it only just to catch food?
So those pedipalps.
Or pedipalps, sorry.
The pedipalps are generally used to catch their food when they want to grab onto something. But they are generally solitary out in their natural habitat as well. So if need be, they can defend their territory from another tailless whip scorpion, and they will raise those pedipalps out to try and intimidate any possible challengers to their home.
So being a tailless whip scorpion, are there any tailed whip scorpions out there?
Yes, or not whip scorpions, but we just call them the true scorpions, the one that have those pinchers and the barbs at the end.
That's fair enough. Well, she is just beautiful moving around there.
Thank you.
So I guess we're going to get to our some of our favorite questions. Who is her favorite zookeeper?
Who is her favorite zookeeper? It's hard to say because I just haven't asked her. It seems rude. But if I had to take a big guess, I'm going to say it's probably me.
So you probably work with her the most then.
I do, yeah.
Getting her comfortable. And what kind of training do you do with her?
So with her, we do a lot of training of just getting her comfortable being out in new environments, and as well as being close to people. As you can see, she likes to explore a lot using those little appendages there. And since she is a much smaller animal than me, she can be a little bit skittish sometimes. So it takes us a little bit of practice and slowly exposing her to new environments to make sure that she is nice and comfortable.
So our friend Dog Days on YouTube wants to know, where can we find the tailless whip scorpions that live in the United States?
So you can find actually a lot of them here throughout the South. They tend to stay in warm, sometimes humid climates. So anywhere really warm here in the South and throughout there is a good place to find them. They do have a very wide range, so if you do a little bit of research, you probably should be able to find some close to your home.
Oh, and Indy, got some fans here. Andrea just says, you are gorgeous.
Oh, thank you, Andrea.
And Sherry says, she's so beautiful. Oh, there she goes, pulling her things out there.
Open them up a little bit high.
Now, why is she opening them up now?
Right now, she's probably just exploring a little bit, making it a little bit easier. Or she's deciding, you know what, this is my way of saying, I think I'm ready to be put back a little bit. So I'm actually going to stick her back into her little enclosure. This is not her actual home. This is what we use to transport her, just to make sure that we don't stress her out too much at all.
Okay.
And let her just hang out there for a second. But I'm happy to keep the camera on her and answer any questions that you may have.
Well, while I adjust the camera to make sure we're seeing the best shot of her possible, Andrew, I'd like to know, will she bite you?
So they do have mouth parts that are very, very small, but they're not big enough to actually bite a person. If they felt threatened and they need to defend themselves, then they can open up those pedipalps there and grab onto your finger, to feel a lot like getting, pricked by a tiny little thorn. She has never done that with me. But when she opens up her arms like that, we want to make sure that we're not stressing her out at all, because that could be her just getting a little bit nervous.
Well, you definitely know why you're her favorite, because looks like she's nice and comfortable back inside there. Melissa would like to know, how does she drink?
So she can drink through those same little mouth parts there. They don't need a lot of water and they retain it really well, but we do keep a water dish in with her constantly.
Now, did you ever want to get in there and get a little bath, or?
Not so much. She prefers to stay hanging out in the dark spaces, but being a nocturnal animal out in their natural habitat, she does tend to be a lot more active overnight. So I've actually never seen her eat, because we will put the crickets in there, but she won't eat until overnight, and we can come back in the morning and see what is left, if anything.
Wow. Now, a lot of spiders, people are so traditional thinking they spin them up in a web and then suck out the good stuff. Does she just eat them whole, or?
So she does not eat them whole. Those pettipops can actually help to break them up a little bit and help her to suck out the good stuff as well. She does not have any jaws, so she can't chew them up like we would.
Ah, that's so interesting. All right, well, see, mostly are just going to a lot more shout outs here and hellos and highs.
Hey there, friends.
We might want to do our reintroduction again. We've got Melanie asking what kind of animal we're looking at.
Hey, Melanie. So this is, hi, I'm Max. Thanks for joining us. And this is Indy, who is a tailless whip scorpion. She is not actually a scorpion or a spider, but she is from the same class of animals, the arachnids. She's actually from another specific order of amphibians, is what they're called. And there's over 155 known species of tailless whip scorpions that live in warm climates all over the world, including Asia, Africa, South America, and North America as well.
Say that $3 word one more time. Amphibian.
Amphibian. Pligid pig. It's a mouthful to pronounce sometimes.
What does that actually mean?
It means blunt end.
Ah, should have known.
Yeah, so the fact that she doesn't have a tail.
That makes sense. So, what are her similarities between her and a scorpion that would keep her out from being a true arachnid?
So, unlike a true scorpion, she does not have a barbed tail at the ends, nor any venom. And as you can see too, her pinchers are shaped much differently. Instead of having those ones that operate like this, she has more elongated arms that can open and close. And she also has a lot longer legs and a much different lifestyle than scorpions. They tend to prefer to be places they can climb up easily, where scorpions spend most of the time on the ground.
But what makes her similar to a scorpion and how she gets her name?
Oh, so she is... Well, the thing with common names in animals is that they're not always accurate, and people give them a name that they feel looks like something else they've seen.
Sort of like the red pandas.
Like the red pandas or the elephant seals. What's the deal there? Or even electric eels, not actually eels.
That's so crazy. I did not know that. Well, back to some questions here. Melanie wants to know, does she lay eggs or give live births?
Oh, good question, Melanie. So they do actually lay eggs. What they do is they wait for some specific material from a male, and they can rub their eggs on there, and then they will keep their eggs in a sack underneath their body for about 3 months. And when those eggs hatch, there's usually between 6 and sometimes up to 60 eggs. After they hatch, the young will actually stay on her back until they molt. And when they molt, that's basically their way of growing. Because their skeleton is on the outside of their body, it does not stretch like our skin does, and instead they have to grow a whole new skeleton and then shake off the old one. So when the young ones get large enough, they will then leave her back and go off on their own.
So does she shed her skin like a snake would, or?
Yeah, so she does molt her exoskeleton like a snake would. She did it a few months ago, and it's actually just like all other, not invertebrates, but all other arthropods. Mm-hmm. So spiders do the same thing, bugs do the same thing, scorpions do the same thing.
Okay. So we've already said that she's not venomous. Now, Carmen would like to know, is she poisonous?
Ah, good question. So she's not venomous because she can't inject any venom into you, and she's not poisonous because if I ate her, I would not get sick from it. If I ate her, it would probably not taste good and be very uncomfortable, and I would never do that to you, dear sweet Indy. I am so sorry for saying it out loud.
It's all good. So we've got Matthew H5, want a little bit more about their habitat. I know we're not super sure, but you think she's from Central America? Why would that be?
We think she's from Central America because she's basically crossing the border from Mexico into the United States. Mm-hmm. So we think that she came from somewhere down there where she was caught in the wild, and then someone tried to sell her as a pet. But as I mentioned earlier, they prefer to stay in nice, humid, and warm climates. And they tend to stay basically hidden during the day and then come out at night. They do like to hang out in trees like this, sometimes in a little crack or crevice, as well as under rocks, under leaf litter, and sometimes they will go into people's homes to stay nice and safe from the environment.
Of course, of course. And we haven't had this question yet, but I'd like to know where its natural predators.
Ooh, so its natural predators can include some birds, some reptiles, and even small mammals that like to eat smaller arthropods.
And Andrew, I'd like to know, do we have more than one?
Oh, at the Memphis Zoo?
Yes.
So in our interpretation animal group of our ambassador animals, she is currently the only tailless whip scorpion that we have. Indy is one of a kind.
No, it definitely is. Those long feelers moving around there. Do you happen to know what her lifespan would be? Julian's asking.
So for her specifically, we unfortunately don't know how old she is because we don't know when she was born or where she came from. But most tailless whip scorpions can live between 5 and 15 years.
All right. So if I wanted to buy a pet and someone, what are some indicators maybe that they're up to some no good stuff?
Well, I would say the best thing that you can do is to do your research ahead of time. If you're buying a pet that seems like an exotic animal from someone that you don't know anything about them, like on Craigslist or something, I would not recommend it because you don't know how they acquired that animal and it could have been through illegal means. So instead, going through reputable sources that have information about how they acquired the animal is the best way to go.
All right. Those are my big red flags there. Well, guys, we are getting close to the end of our segment here. Max, is there anything else you'd like to throw out there about just safe and how to help against the illegal pet trade?
Yeah, so just a few more messaging that I mentioned earlier, but I just want to thank you all again for coming out to join us today, and also to remind you that you can help animals out in the wild from the safety and comfort of your home by making little changes such as reducing the amount of trash that you make, properly securing your waste, even reducing the amount of water you use, like turning off the faucet while you're brushing your teeth. And when you see animals out in the wild, observe from a safe distance and leave them there, and you can have a big and very positive impact on the health of our animal neighbors. Again, if you would like to help out even more, you can donate to the Memphis Zoo and support us in our conservation efforts by donating to our emergency animal fund or by going on our website and becoming a member. And all of those donations will go directly into maintaining a high quality level of care for our animals and supporting our global conservation efforts. So on behalf of myself, Indy, and the rest of the animals here at the Memphis Zoo, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back again on Monday. Make sure to tune in again. Stay safe, wash your hands, have a great weekend.